Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome to my Independence Report. It is Monday afternoon, and we've got a great guest for you today. Her name is Amy Carpenter. She is an author, and she is very wise about a topic that a lot of us are scared about and don't talk to our kids about, and things that they need, and that's their, I'll actually have her talk about it. She's got a series of books out that it's called Be Strong, Be Wise. There are 2 of them, and that are out now, and with more to follow, she promises me, because the first one is the Young Adult Guide to a topic that we just don't talk about enough, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show, Amy, is because we really need to talk about this particular topic more, because a lot of kids they face it in their lives. And what exactly is it that we're talking about?
Well, we're talking about sexual assault and sexual assault awareness, and the idea that if we don't talk about it with our kids, if we don't talk about ways to understand it, ways to be aware of the variables that create risky situations, and lots of other tools that we explore in the books, then I would argue that we are disservicing our kids not to have these important conversations.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, because we don't know. We can't follow our children around, especially our teenagers. They think at least, I don't know, in my house, I was, when my kids were like 16, I was dumber than dirt. And so I had nothing of value to say to my children about anything, let alone sexual matters and how to protect themselves and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I open my second book, which is written to and for adults. It's under the Be Strong, Be Wise title. But I opened that book with a line from a colleague who said, I'm pretty much the last person that my son would talk to about sex. So, there's a lot of reasons why it's hard to talk about these things. I mean, they've been going on since the dawn of the species. Sexual assault is not new, although many would argue, Tarana Burke among them. Tarana Burke started the hashtag Me Too movement back in the 90s. And then, of course, it reached, real popularity and real momentum when Alyssa Milano tweeted hashtag Me Too in 2017. But, these things have been going on for a really long time. They have now reached epidemic proportions. There's a sexual assault every 92 seconds in the US currently. And half of all victims are between the ages of 18 and 34. So if we think about risk and vulnerability, of course, the 18-year-old end of that spectrum are going to be more at risk than the 34-year-old end of the spectrum. And at 18, you're launching into the world. You've never been on your own before. You know your hometown and your family, but you don't necessarily know a lot of the social constructs and experiences where assaults can occur. And, remember, we think of sexual assault as rape, and actually their definition is much broader than that. And we think of assault as being, the creepy guy lurking around the corner, when in actuality, 80% of assaults occur with a known offender. So these are in relationships. These are dating scenarios, or somebody who you thought was a friend that then pesters you incessantly to have sex with them. These are things our young people are facing every day. And I would say more so now as a result of the exposure on the media, where they see sexual content all day, every day. And we need to talk to them about how to decipher fact from fiction regarding what they see. And pornography is just one piece of that.
Pornography is a piece, but it's more so just the body shaming and the identity that people take on, and what's really cool and that kind of stuff. But I wanted to ask you about statistics. Is it true that 3 out of 4 young girls or women are sexually abused at one point in their lives? Is that number accurate, or is it hopefully it's less than that?
Well, there's a lot of statistics out there, and I encourage listeners to Google specific information that you're looking for. I will share that I have heard 86% of girls report experiencing harassment. So, and girls as young as middle school, in one study, 100% of the girls in that study reported experiencing sexual harassment. So that is a very common occurrence for young women. Um, the current statistic is that 1 in 4 girls will be sexually assaulted before they graduate college, and 1 in 6 young men will be sexually assaulted. In the middle school age bracket, the numbers are much more similar, where we see as many young boys as young girls getting assaulted in middle school. So, and these are statistics that people can look up. I got a lot of my information from Peggy Orenstein's book. She's a New York Times bestseller. She wrote 2 books, Boys and Sex and Girls and Sex. And these, if you want any information around what our young people are exposed to on a daily basis, get these books. So I kind of think of my books as like a response to her books, because she interviews young people for both of her books. Um, you know, tens of hundreds of young people she interviews. And I like to think of Be Strong, Be Wise as kind of an answer to the scenario that she represents, because she really talks very pointedly about how concerning this issue is right now. And if we don't talk to our young people about it when they're as young as middle school, then they're going to be privy to these forces that unfortunately create a lot of confusion and difficulty in making good choices as they enter high school, and then, of course, college, when there's so much more independence.
It is frightening to me with the amount of information that's available for people, for young people. Not information, but just the types of things that they are exposed to is worse. When I was a kid 100 years ago, we had nowhere near the type of information or negative stuff that's out there that these poor kids have to deal with today. It truly is frightening.
Well, and that's one of the phenomena that are getting in the way of having more conversations at home. Now, in Boys and Sex, and Peggy Orenstein's book, Boys and Sex, 60% of the boys that she interviewed reported that they had never had a conversation with their parents about how to respect young women, how to avoid things like catcalling, how to respect a woman's boundaries, how to approach affirmative consent, which many young people don't even know what affirmative consent is, let alone the definition of sexual assault. There are so many things we can do to educate our young people. So it's a phenomena that, as parents, and I include myself in this description, all of us struggle with approaching a subject when we don't know what our kids are looking at. We don't know what they're seeing. We don't know what they're watching. We don't know what they're listening to, because they grew up in the digital age and we didn't. So there's this whole fear phenomena, which is very easily inflated about, well, it's run amok, it's derailed, I can't control it anymore. There's nothing I can do. So I just got to like hope for the best. And I will say that most parents I talk to opt for that. With of course, variations in trying to have some conversation, but we need to really have comprehensive conversations starting again at like middle school, that can take place over time. It doesn't have to be a sex talk like we think about historically, where we sit somebody down and say, okay, I'm going to teach you about the birds and the bees. I'm going to tell you everything you know. It doesn't work like that anymore, because we know as adults that they know probably more than we do. And I think that that's a safe bet. But here's the good thing. Here's the good news. they are so wanting to talk about it. The kids that I teach, the young people that I teach in my classes, and I've run countless classes now, the kids that I teach they want the class to go on longer. They want to ask questions. They want to talk about how to approach dating respectfully, how to understand consent, how to understand the variables that inform risk. These are skills that they know they need. They know that they're growing up in an age where Me Too just happened. So sexual assault's bad, don't do it, right? And yet they also hear about it all the time, because I guarantee you every young person knows of a story of somebody experiencing assault. So it's this massive duplicity, and yet we struggle with talking about it. So I have lots of tidbits to offer listeners as far as how to start, because I think it's just a very scary, overwhelming conversation to think of having, and yet there are ways to begin it that are a little bit simpler.
We had a acronym in our house when I have two boys, and when they were teenagers, right around 13 or so, we started using this acronym, and it's KYPIP, which stands
Oh,
for keep your Peter in
keep
your pants.
I was waiting for that.
And
Yeah.
and one of them figured it out, the other one didn't. But you have to bring it up because it's a fact of life, and also the respect for women. I am so disappointed with the male of the species because we're teaching our young boys that, correct me if I'm wrong, but in a lot of cases we're teaching our young boys to be aggressive, that no doesn't necessarily mean no, that if the girl's dressing in a sexual manner, then she's asking for it. All of these things that came from the past, but are still
Right.
relevant and are still out there.
Right.
Oh, we're
Right.
watching.
Yeah, and I would admit that I'm getting my phone charger. I have a lot of compassion for young men, because I feel like they're kind of being sold down the river, so to speak. Um, they're being given all of these messages. They're looking at pornography, where 88% of pornography videos contain violence against women. So even young men who say, I know this isn't real, I know that this is not how we're supposed to treat young women, this is what they're exposed to. At younger and younger ages, boys as young as 10 years old are going on pornography sites.
Yep.
So it's one thing to tell yourself, well, it's not really real, but when you're watching it again and again, and remember, that's just one source. We've got TikTok, we've got YouTube, we've got social media. I mean, we've got the movies. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So we're asking an awful lot of our young men to say, here's our culture. Here's all the forces that you can see every day on your phone, but like, don't do any of it. It's just, it's not a fair setup. So I have a lot of compassion for young men. I think they're confused. I think they need to have more information, and I think that the time is now to give it to them. So it's just a matter of, beginning and continue.
You're back. Okay, you
Can you hear me,
plugged in
Kevin?
your phone. By the way, yes, I can. By the way, you handled that really well. You walked all the way over there and then all the way back, and I could still see you, and you didn't miss a beat. That was very good.
Well, if you knew the day I had, Kevin, you would be like, oh, I get it. So thank you for bearing with me. I just wanted to.
Oh, no problem. Because
So yeah, I'm
it's
fully here. Yeah.
it really is.
Can you hear? Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make sure you could hear me.
I can hear you fine now. Yeah, it cut out a little bit when you
Okay.
plugged it in, but it came back.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm getting kind of situated here, but I'm fully present. So, I encourage people to check out my books. Obviously, I encourage people to get Peggy Orenstein's books. There's a lot of information out there that is helpful to parents and caring adults for how to have these conversations, and we need help. They're scary. There's a kind of a perfect storm brewing where kids are exposed to more than we know, and that worries us. And so consequently, when you get the worry mind working for you, it's not when you have the most discernment as a parent. So, it makes it more difficult.
I don't help me understand something here about parents, because
Okay.
I would think, this is just me, but I would think that getting great information out to people that is accurate, age appropriate, and can educate the kids is a good thing, because it will help kids not make major mistakes that they didn't know that they were making until it was too late. And it can
Right.
actually help us with managing things like early abortions, because if the kids get the education that they need, why is it, in your opinion, why are there some parents that are dead set against kids getting proper information about something that is so necessary these days?
I love that question. And I talk about this a lot in my second book. So, the common paradigm currently for raising children is called child-centered parenting. Have you heard of it?
Remind me.
Child- So it's where the pendulum has kind of swung in the opposite direction from probably, say, when you and I were kids, where it was a little bit more children should be seen and not heard. Like, at least when I was growing up, my parents were like, "See you at dinner. Bye." Like, you could go
Oh
out and
yeah.
you could play all afternoon. No, they didn't know where we were. They didn't care where we were. Like, as long as you're home for dinner, whatever. And it's the opposite now. Over kids are under a somebody who's no parent today. So there's a lot of it's all about what children. We want our children to be happy and comfortable, and that works until it doesn't work. So I think it's why adults are having such a difficult time with having these hard conversations, is because it makes them uncomfortable and they think it makes their child uncomfortable as well. And I would argue that we're cutting our kids short because they actually, because of what they're exposed to in the media, more capable of having these conversations oftentimes than we are. We just have to get out of our own way and recognize it doesn't need to be comfortable for it to be effective.
No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, my former wife was a play school teacher and an elementary school, and she came home one day and she was shaking her head and said, "I had a sixth grade girl walk up to me today and say, 'Mrs. McDonald, can you get pregnant from oral or from anal sex?'" And it was like, this is a sixth grade girl, and it was like, what
Oh,
was she,
yeah.
10? So it's like they're thinking and they're having
Yeah.
these conversations with each other far earlier than we have ever given them credit for, I think.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And because of the indomitable immortality of youth, right? Because of the idea that, well, nothing can really hurt me. If you ask really any young person, they're probably going to believe or respond that they are, fully protecting themselves in a risky situation. They would know what to do. There's a little bit of that bravado present that, again, is how we all become, how we launch ourselves, is having that kind of indomitable sense. But if you ask them specific questions, it begins to get a little shaky. For example, I live in a very small town in Maine, as you know, and we call it the bubble. It's a very kind of sheltered coastal, everybody knows each other. The kids are, everybody kind of knows each other's kids. And I taught the class to Be Strong, Be Wise to a local group of schoolers. And I asked them, as I do every class, so, do you think of yourself as having street smarts? Like, do you think of yourself as knowing how to win situation? And 90% of the time they'll say, oh yeah, I've been to the city. I know how to walk through a city. And then I'll say, have you ever taken a subway in the middle of the night? And of course, that's when they start to go, oh, yeah, if I've gone to the city with my parents and I've driven the subway with my parents and I've done all these things, in a group of people. But when you ask the right questions, it really begins to prompt what I call, discretionary thinking. Like they have to reflect on their life experiences in a different way. And that's the beauty of having these kinds of conversations, is because when we ask the right questions, it really encourages young people to think of their lives and their experiences and their safety differently.
Oh, exactly. And I would like to introduce someone. She's a young mother. She's got a 10-year-old boy and a 3-year-old daughter. And I think she has some value to this conversation. So I would like to bring her on now. And this is Kayla May.
Hi. Mom mode, sorry.
She's in mom mode, but do you have a question for Amy?
Yeah,
Hi, Kayla.
I definitely have lots of questions that are kind of flowing through my mind. When you want to talk to your child specifically, do you just go for it? Or do you ease into a conversation? Because I have never personally had the talk with my son about the birds and the bees. I've never done it. And he's 10, and I probably should.
Amy, you there?
And how old is your son, Kayla?
10.
I'm there. I was just asking Kayla how old her son is. 10.
10. Yep.
Perfect time. Perfect time. I'm so glad that you asked that question. Yeah. So it's a perfect time, Kayla. And a real tip, because I mentioned earlier, Kevin, and please don't put up if you can't hear me because my connection's key.
Your connection is pretty weak.
School, in middle school. Is it not working?
It's cutting in and out.
Kayla, can you hear me?
Barely.
Kevin, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're kind of cutting in and out, and this is important information. Can we work on the signal a little bit?
So if you can, my connection's good. We can. Well, yes. So that's a bit of a challenge coming in fully. I can try and move locations if you'll bear with me, because I do want to answer Kayla's question.
Absolutely. We'll wait. We're real good.
It doesn't. So Kevin, I tried to get onto the
To the yard stream or your stream yard
that you sent
yes.
And I didn't have the ability to do that to figure it out. But anyway, let's see what happens when I go inside. I'm going nearer to my router. Can you guys hear me now better?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me now a little bit better?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Okay.
It's
Kayla,
go ahead.
thank you so much for your patience. earlier that middle school boys are just as likely to experience assault as girls are. So I think that if you were to start with the definition of sexual assault, of course, that is as you're talking about the birds and the bees in whatever way you see fit. And there's some resources for that. But if you're talking about that, you can begin to look at the definition of sexual assault, which is much broader than most young people understand. And there's 3 operative words in the definition, which are unwanted sexual touch. And I would encourage you to talk to him about what that means to him. But if he's online and if he's on social media and if he's on TikTok and all the other things,
Mhm.
he will know what that means. So what you can do is you can begin to have him understand what it feels like when somebody crosses a boundary. And that is I call it one of the superpowers. If you have an intuitive sense, he's getting too close, that somebody's saying something that's not comfortable to you, and you're getting a red flag, that's when you can know how to respond. You have to think about, what am I going to say in this scenario? And I would encourage you to help him come up with a script. So a script could be as simple as, I'm out of here, I'm uncomfortable, get away. Or it could be, I got to go make a phone call because I promised my mother I'd check in with her. Anything of that. Here's what I hear a lot, young people. Well, I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to be mean. So I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. We have to serve our young people by giving them a script and come up with the words that they would say and actually practice this thing in. So does that feel?
Oh no.
Yeah,
Kevin, are you able to hear me?
You're breaking up occasionally, but you're breaking up. We got the gist of what you were saying to Kayla, though. I think do you understand what she was talking about, Kayla?
I totally agree and understand. Yes.
So when are you going to have that talk?
Kayla,
I'm going to tell his father.
sorry for the bad connection.
It's okay.
Start.
Oh no.
Don't be. It's fear is so easy to come to situations like this, but it really it doesn't. It's not something you need to be afraid of. I was talking to Kevin about this earlier. Statistically, it's more likely your son will not have this happen to him than that he will have it happen to him. Same thing with your daughter. So, the odds are in his favor. What you're doing by having the conversation with him is you're giving him tools. And it will serve him not only with his relationships, but in all of his life. Because he'll learn how to listen to his gut instinct. Right?
Sure. Yes.
And that's really important that because you're not going to be able to be around him or with him all the time.
Hear me enough to, yes. Okay, good. Okay.
Good. I can get it out. It's good. I get it.
Amy, can we do this? Because this is a very important conversation.
Yeah. I mean,
can we reschedule or to do it again?
And I what I would ask Kevin is if you can somebody in your team, Kevin, help? Yeah. I'm just entering something into the chat. This is not working. Kevin, let's you and I schedule a day when you can probably, somebody on your team can give me a tutorial with the software, because normally I work on other types of platforms than what you guys have.
Yep.
And so I need to have some tutorial on that.
Yeah, no problem. We can
Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, we can schedule a time.
Hello?
And hello. Can you hear me? Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Amy, let's.
Sorry about the thing. Tell me we can. Hello.
Yeah, we had it going good for a while, and then it just
I'm going to sign
went
off, and we can email each other. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Amy. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah, so she started out going really well, but then
you guys take good care.
you too. We'll see you soon.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye, Kayla.
Bye.
Okay, I've got to go set up the next one. So, tell you what, let me go set up the next one, Kayla, and then let's you and I get on that one.
All right, what's the next one?
Life Between Lives with
all right.
You don't have to be there for the just beforehand.
Well, I'm here, so it's 333. Good meanings. Get it.
Good. Okay, we'll be right. So I'll be right back. I'll send you the link.
All right, sounds good.